Welcome, everyone, to the We Are In It Together podcast. I am here today with a very special guest, Maya Lynn. Maya Lynn is a cross-country runner. She is the musician of the song, the We Are In It Together song.
I'm her daughter.
Okay, also she just also happens to be my daughter. So I'm here with my daughter today, which is such an honor. Maya, do you want to say hello?
Yes, hello.
And she's here to tell a little bit of her story, to talk about the making of the Mindfulness and Self-Compassion Workbooks for kids, and to share a little bit about why she thinks that mindfulness and self-compassion is really important for kids.
Yes.
So welcome, Maya.
I'm really excited to be here today.
Awesome. So can you tell us a little bit about your life story, right? So I've oftentimes shared with the viewers that you brought me to mindful self-compassion, right? So I was a mindfulness teacher trying to calm you down with deep breaths. Do you love that, Maya, when I try to calm you down with deep breaths?
I mean, it helps.
She did not like it when she was 4 years old. So her lived experience brought me to mindful self-compassion. Just tell me a little bit about
the normal mindfulness. It can help, but it wasn't enough to bring me to where I am now, which is I feel way better than how I was back then. Like for my life story, I was like a kid with big emotions, which is that's the reason why you got to know self-compassion, right?
Yes, I wasn't sure how to help you when your emotions were either big high or big low, and I wasn't sure how to help you with the big lows, right?
So I remember this time we were when the pandemic came, I was really excited to go on this cruise, and I would think about it every day of how excited I was, and then when the pandemic came, it just I don't know, I felt like nothing had. I was just really, really sad. So it was just really high excitement every day. I that's for the feelings habit animals. That's a beaver for the workbook. Thinking about it over and over again. So yeah.
So your brain was sticky when something made you excited. Your brain was sticky for the good,
yes.
And then when it didn't turn out, your brain was sticky for the bad. Yes. Anything else you want to share from memories from your childhood? Things that kind of primed you to I don't know, just memorable things or things that are related to mindfulness and self-compassion, whatever you'd like to share with our guests.
I mean, I used to go to Holy Family. I just switched schools. I know that reading was a difficult thing for me, which is also something that I use self-compassion for today. Because I had dyslexia and I didn't know it back then, so that was also something. I was a pretty happy child. I don't know.
Absolutely. And so I was teaching you mindfulness and self-compassion as soon as I learned it, yes. And then, but in the beginning, you didn't necessarily practice on the outside, right?
Yeah, I think after you taught me tons of stuff a lot, but I think after the first year or two, I started to actually practice it. But I still got stuff from it. It was just it just takes time to really let it start actually using it.
Right. And I know you and I were talking about this a little bit before we started this episode of the podcast, and you shared that the pandemic really gave you lots of opportunities to practice. So can you share a little bit about your story, how the pandemic affected you, how mindfulness and self-compassion played into your kind of recovering from those negative effects?
Yeah, the pandemic kind of gave me social anxiety because I didn't used to think about it before the pandemic. But once the pandemic hit, I kind of became, my social circle became smaller, and I just got used to it. And then when I had to broaden it again, it was just really difficult for me. So I actually used self-compassion, which helped. I'm better now, and that helped. But, I would, let's say something's really difficult, I would give myself self-compassion. If something's I use gentle and strong self-compassion, which is also from the workbook. There's snuggles and super snuggles. I'll talk about that later. We have the animals. But I would use both of those to help me. So let's say for gentle self-compassion, I would say it's okay. There's lots of people out there with social anxiety. So other people feel like this too sometimes. But for strong self-compassion, I can do it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring myself out there. And self-compassion in all different ways really helped me.
And some of the ways that you noticed you'd have it before hockey or before scouts or different.
I feel really nervous, but I just have to bring myself to it.
Yes, and one of the things that I've always said to Maya, and is true of anybody who's having social anxiety issues, is that we never want to respond to our fears by making our life smaller. Because if we do,
like one of the main things I would do when I had that was acknowledge it being there. So I would try to push it away. Because one of the things I learned was like what resists persists, which means that when you resist a difficult feeling, it can just come back harder. And it's not helpful. But you can don't just like, I don't know, completely look at it and stare at it either. So I would like acknowledge it was there, but then still bring myself to do the thing.
yes. And so if we bring this in the context of the animals, the resilience habit animals, Spots is the giraffe. That's exactly what you're describing, Maya, which is to mindfully observe. Like, this is here, this is present. You might even notice like body sensations. I know you got a lot of body sensations from when you had anxiety. Yes,
what like stomach tight, just like sinking feeling.
Yes, and then oftentimes you would move right from there into the buddy habit, which the buddy habit is
to do something.
No, that's not. By the way, just don't worry about this. The names of the animals don't matter.
That's Doodles the dolphin.
Doodles the dolphin is do something. Yep, Doodles too. It's all good.
Buddy is you're not alone.
Buddy is you're not alone. You got it. So you would tell yourself that, right? Like, I'm not the only person who has social anxiety. Because otherwise, honestly, social anxiety can make us feel like something is wrong with us. Yeah. And so reminding ourselves that we're not the only one that feels it can kind of keep us out of that shame spiral. And then the third animal you were talking about, Maya, was the snuggles, which you said you actually used to sometimes give yourself kind touch,
right? I give myself kind touch too. If I'm like having a hard day, I can just like, it's like a good, like, you're your own friend. That's what self-compassion is, basically.
Yes, and then you use super snuggles to help you do the hard thing, yes?
Like, I can. That's like the strong self-compassion, like, I can do this. I use it in sports a lot too, actually. Yeah,
so why don't you talk about how you use it nowadays when you're doing sports? We're trying to hold on, like, trying to gather some animals that have fallen on the floor. We've got a whole zoo here of animals. For those who are just listening and not watching, there's like animals that appear on the screen. Okay, so can you talk a little bit about how you use mindfulness and self-compassion in your life now? Which occasionally there's still a little social anxiety, like even public speaking can sometimes.
I find public speaking kind of like nerve-wracking.
I think you're not alone with that one.
Mm-hmm. I use that still today.
Mm-hmm. So how you said sports is an area where you use it now?
Yeah. Like even today would be a good example, because I found out I'm gonna have to run. I'm running for something in conference for cross country, and I was actually really nervous because I don't know how I'm gonna do. I don't know how it's gonna turn out. So I kind of just like, I use the super snuggles. Like I can do this, but I also use this gentle self compassion. Everyone's nervous. What's like we're all together, like
that's the buddy habit, like everybody, we're all doing, and I guess you're doing it kind of two ways.
I thought about like I'm running with my friends, like everyone feels this way.
Yes, that would definitely be what we call the buddy habit. Everyone feels this day, we're all a little anxious and we can do this together. Right, collective empowerment too.
I even made like my own little like affirmations that I look at before my races and stuff. Even like I think about them a lot, like I can do this. That's like super snuggles, like you got this. Kind of like all the things I said.
Which, by the way,
is hard.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to? I'm sorry. Do you want
to? No, that's it.
And one of the most beautiful things was before her little sister Anjali had her first mountain biking race. In the car ride there, Maya was like teaching Anjali how to like say these affirmations.
Self-talk.
Yeah, so critical, and just remembering that the anxiety is there. You're gonna feel it. You're not alone. But it's also doesn't have to be the only thing we focus on. So do you use also like this, the doodles do, like when you're anxious, is there something you like to do to refocus your attention? I'm curious.
Yeah, I do use doodles. Like I mean being in the moment, right? That's also
mindfulness.
Exercise, if it's like, I don't know, if it's something not exercise that I'm worried about. Exercise can help too.
Right, or playing music, right?
Yeah.
You also like to play music.
I love music.
Great. So about just for our viewers, a little history. The Mindfulness and Self-Compassion Workbook is released on October 24th, 2024. Maya was part of the workbook creation. So she's now a sophomore in high school, but when she was in 8th grade, that's when I decided my parent-child class, like everybody can't take a class. I thought I need to have something that's more accessible because everybody needs to learn self-compassion. So the beginning of our 8th grade year, we gathered together 2 other families. Six. We started off with 6 girls. We have 5 boys that got added in, but we started with a team of 6 girls. how was it for you to have, like, how did you feel about this? I don't know if you had side by side feelings, but this idea of like, we're going to create a workbook for kids. Can you
It
talk a
was
little
so
about that?
exciting. I remember the very first day when we all came together, and you're like, all right, we're gonna create this like a full-on workbook, and I'm like, wow, like it just seems so exciting, like this is real, and now it's all come together, and it just feels so crazy. Like for the process of making the workbook, I remember we'd have days where we work on the actual content of the workbook, like what do we want to have in this chapter, formatting it. I remember that one of the main things I did was trying to make it more playful, because kids learn by play. Like if you just say, "Here, learn to be kind to yourself," I don't think that's gonna like, I don't know. Like they learn by actually playing, and like I actually worked with a kid with the workbook, and one of the main things I did when she was
Like you taught her, so this was
yeah.
like another Maya's in Scouts, on the track to becoming an Eagle. Yes.
Yes.
And one of her she sometimes does scout work with a focus on the workbook. So she had a volunteer commitment for 8 hours, right?
Yeah.
And she chose to teach a child from Milwaukee Public Schools all the lessons from the workbook, from Workbook 1.
Yeah, it was really exciting. I think that like kids don't always want to be doing it, but it was like she found it exciting. Like I'm really glad that like she was into it. Like with the whole quest that you're on in the workbook. Um it was just really awesome.
Well, I remember you telling me that you'd actually have the animals and you do little role plays with the animals using like the quotes from the workbook.
She learned by the play. That's actually one of the things that got her really into it. Like if she was having it would help her be more like into it and excited about it.
And the other thing that Maya did was we ended up developing comics. And Maya, one of her strengths is perspective taking. So she was our original drawer.
Yeah, that was one of the big things that I did to help the workbook, which is I made the drafts for the comics. So there's lots of, in each chapter there's a comic where one of the feelings resilience habit, no, it's the feelings habit animals.
Well, actually, no, the comics are yeah. There's 3 characters in the book,
but they have resilience habit animals
and they have the feelings habits, right? Yeah, like there's one character that is anxious and kind of obsessive and feels ashamed a lot, Anita. There's another character who hides feelings, and then there's a third character that explodes with feelings.
And they use the resilience habit animals.
You got it, ma'am. And it's fun. What's fun is that of the 6 kids that I worked with, 2 of them had the habits of being a bear, and those were actually the kids that helped me develop a lot of the fun components. They don't tolerate boring. So Maya was one of those, and then Abby was another one of those. I had 2 kids that had kind of the beaver and the deer habits, and that was Anjali and that was Aria. And then I had 2 kids that were feelings hiders. So when we made the comics, I actually met with the groups of kids that had the feelings habits to ensure that I accurately portrayed how they would do those different feelings animals.
Yeah, there was like a lot of actual real like stuff that went into that comics. It wasn't just like here's the comic. We actually really worked for those.
So. We really worked for those. Yes, and Maya was like the original illustrator for those comics. So what's also interesting is a year and a half into the work, I thought I was done with the workbook, and I tested it on some boys that had really attention spans that were small, and I realized it wasn't playful enough. So that's actually when I met with an extra kid that was going to be part of the kids team. Her name was Layla, and she's the one who helped me develop the quest elements. And so I'm giving you some details here, Maya. Did you want to share? Did you want to share the presentation? Should we skip over that? Okay, so for Scouts, Maya actually made a 5-minute presentation about the workbook, and we're going to screen, for those who are watching the video here, we're going to screen share. If you're not watching the video and you're just listening, then you can just go ahead and listen, and we'll kind of describe what we're showing. You go ahead and share the screen.
I wrote a little presentation for Scouts, so I'm going to share that.
Okay, so pretend like you're doing it now, okay? You're doing the presentation, and there's a picture. It starts off with this picture of a coach yelling.
Yes, so think of a goal or project that you want to accomplish, like learning an instrument, sport, or art project, and you have a coach, and every time you mess up, the coach says, "You suck, you are never going to get there, you are such a loser, don't bother trying." Do you think this will help you get to your goal? No, right?
No, I think that would not help me get to my goal.
Now imagine this coach was inside of you. How many of you have ever had this voice inside your head when you're trying to do something but you can't get it right?
Yep. Yes.
It's really common.
Yes.
But this voice can make you want to quit. So what would it be like if you could have a supportive coach inside of you? Like, I can encourage you to get to your goals. So that's what Mindfulness Self-Compassion, the workbook, is designed to do. Sorry, going to my next slide. This is the workbook cover. So it's designed for kids 7 to 12. It's not about getting rid of the voices, but it's about dealing with them skillfully and giving that second voice. So that's what can really help you. It'll help you with all different parts of your life. So that's a really nice thing about it.
Right. So for example, if you feel like, oh, I'm not good enough, I can't do things right, that's the first voice. And the second voice is,
I'm having these thoughts.
I'm not alone.
I'm not alone. Give yourself some compassion. I can do it.
Yes.
All these, and all the strategies that we always have animals. So one of the first things I wanted to show were the comics. So and also the workbook has fun comics that actually help you learn important lessons. So I think comics honestly are one of the best parts of this book because like you actually can, I don't know, see the characters and examples of what's happening. So here's an example comic.
All right, so Maya's going to be the character
From the Land of
James.
Acceptance.
James has a lot of big feelings, and I'll be the curious chick Curie who appears throughout the book. Okay, go ahead, Maya.
Okay. So uphills are so annoying. Why do I have to ride uphills?
Are you feeling tired? It can be hard to go up hills.
Yeah, I wish it was all downhill. Downhills are so much more fun.
Do you think it's possible to have downhills without uphills? You cannot have ups without downs. Both are a part of life. And then in the last comic frame, we see James riding up and down the hills across the countryside.
So like, this just shows that it's common to resist, but truthfully, when you push it away, it just makes it worse. So it's helpful to remember that everyone has ups and downs. So yeah. And then one of the also exciting things are the this is what makes it really not your ordinary workbook. You are on a quest. So it's kind of like, it's like a game. Like you're on a quest to gather materials for a fun party. And actually, Doodles the dolphin, one of the Resilience Have animals, it's its 10th birthday, and Doodles has never had a birthday party. So this is like, you're actually collecting ingredients for the cake for Doodles' birthday party with the Feelings Have animals, right?
Yeah, and with the kids from the kids team, right?
Yeah.
So, and by the way, can I pause to say something here? Yeah. Okay, so here's something kind of fun. So I wanted to make, like, when we came up with this idea of having a big quest, I wanted us to do this to try to help these animals. Like we have lots of animals, but we have like 4 animals that we'll talk about at the end of this podcast that are like the feelings habits that people have. And I wanted the whole quest to be about trying to get these feelings habit animals to get some resilience. And the kids were like, boo, boring, nobody cares. So then some kid came up with this dolphin's birthday party, and I'm like, who's gonna care? But you know what? Kids so care, right? Yes. Even when I taught in schools, I'd like teach the first workbook, and then I'd have boys, which typically, young boys might be less interested in mindfulness and self-compassion training, stereotypically, right? But they'd be like, are we going to do the second workbook? And I'd say, why? They're like, because, like, we need to get all the ingredients for Doodle's birthday party. I'd be like, oh, right. So it really is motivating.
Yeah. And, like, here's a picture of, in the beginning of a quest. So, like, this is
in a land.
You are the avatar. So this is you. And you are with real other kids that are doing the quest. So this is entering the land of acceptance. And you go through and you do all types of like activities in the land of acceptance that help you learn. And then once you finish, you get an ingredient. And then you can check off things on the clipboard, and you're with
whatever kids went with you into that land, right? Mm-hmm. Yes.
So you actually go through the lands as part of the quest. Which brings me to my next point, which is relatability. Because like kids share real quotes throughout this workbook. And look at this fabulous kid.
So this is Maya. Maya is one of the kids featured in the workbook.
So there's a bunch of kids, and they all share real quotes. So it helps you understand that like you're not alone, which makes people less judgmental to help themselves. So it's actually a really important like aspect of the workbook.
Yeah, the real kids. Is it okay if we read this one, Maya? I know this is a quote from you. Are you okay with sharing that? Okay, this isn't actually in the first land, the land of connection. And we're just talking about how everybody gets upset. You're not alone when you get upset.
Yeah.
And so there's a kid named Marcos who shares, it's hard for me to lose when I give my best effort and everyone is not trying. And then Maya shares,
Yeah, I said I get upset when I don't understand the directions for my homework.
right, so again, just real life experiences that kids can relate to just even get kids to start to acknowledge, yeah, sometimes I get upset too.
Yeah. And then this is to my next point. Fun activities and animals.
And there's a whole bunch, for those watching the slide, there's like a whole bunch of here of workbook pages that are pretty fun.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be honest, like especially like younger kids, like some people don't like to talk about feelings, but the cute animals make it, and 30 plus activities from each workbook make it more fun. So like for the adults that are listening, I know this sounds way too fun for kids to be learning stuff. If it does, you're wrong. Because my mom, who created this workbook, is a certified mindful self-compassion teacher who had multiple studies done on our programs, showing increases in well-being and decreases in anxiety and depression when kids learn these skills. So it's actually been proved. But so all the fun aspects of this book just make kids enjoy themselves while they learn valuable stuff. So for like the feelings they have at animals, that's one of the things that make it fun and relatable. So these are the different feelings habit animals. So there's the feelings habit animals and the resilience habit animals, which are two different things.
So we talked earlier about the resilience animals, like that help you spot feelings, help you realize you're not alone, help you to take actions. We also didn't talk about Sunny, but Sunny is like important too, like noticing good things. These are the resilience habits. But then what kids oftentimes just love are the feelings habit animals. So Maya's going to go through those now.
What I was talking about earlier with like role playing with the kids, we actually had the stuffed animals for the animals.
For all of them, right?
Yeah.
All the animals. And kids love that. Kids love that. So whenever I teach in schools, I always have kids role play with that. Mm-hmm.
So there's a chameleon, which is hiding feelings. And then the bear, actually I'm a bear. I have really big feelings, like I was saying earlier. So, big feelings. And then there's the beaver who obsesses about things, so thinking about it over and over and over.
Which I can be like this too.
I can be like it too, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
And then there's the deer, which feels bad for having feelings.
Yeah.
It's like feeling ashamed.
Shame prone. Also one of my habits. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I can be a deer too sometimes. So there's a quiz at the start of the workbook, and that's where you can find out what feelings habit animal you are.
Absolutely. So you can take the quiz. I have it on my website. I also have, like, if you sign up for my newsletter, JamieLynnTatera.com, I share with you an excerpt of the workbook that has the quiz in it. That's usually a great place to start with kids, truthfully, is just developing the feelings habit animals as like a vocabulary, and then kids kind of move into it from there.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, Maya, one of the things that you shared, like when we were talking about you said this recently, by the way, and it touched my heart. You called the workbook a diamond.
Yes.
Right? Can you share a little bit about that metaphor you made the other day about the workbook?
I just want to say, like, for everything I've said about here, like the whole like presentation and everything, I wasn't like told to do this. I genuinely really want this workbook to get out, and I feel like so passionate about it, like helping to create it, and like there's so many kids out there who have like who are struggling emotionally and like could really use this. Like not everyone has a mindful self-compassion teacher mother. Like I just feel like it's so needed. Like in our world of like population, everything growing, and just, I don't know. I just feel like it'd just be so helpful, and not enough people know about it. So that's what I meant by diamond. That if it could just get out to more people, I feel like this could become such a like important thing for kids' lives, like life changing, and I can't say this enough. So I really think that this could help.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Maya, for joining us. I'm really grateful, and thank you all for being here and being part of our team. I always like to say, any of you who are listening, like, you've got a really big heart. You're doing awesome, and I'm grateful that you're part of Team Mindfulness and Self-Compassion. So,
yes,
thank you
if
so
you're
much.
thinking about getting it, get it. The workbook.
Yes. Oh, that's a great. And also that reminds me, Maya, I have there's 160 kids at one of my favorite MPS schools, Milwaukee Public Schools. It's called Fratney. And there's 160 kids that would love to have a copy of it. So if you are like, well, I don't know what kid I'd buy it for, you can buy the workbook and send it to me, and I'll hand deliver it to Fratney. You can email me, jlt@jamieLynnTatera.com, or just contact me through my website, and I'll make sure that you can help this get into the hands of more kids, because truthfully, that's why I created it. Like, ultimately I want kids to suffer less, and this is a playful way to give kids the habits that will over time actually help them to suffer less and help them to be more resilient
And achieve their dreams.
Achieve their dreams. That's right, Maya. All right. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
The world keeps turning, things change. We have new obstacles that are thrown in our way. You can't hold us down. Together we'll get around. You just have to look inside, and you will find that we are in it together. I know it in my heart. You are not alone. You are not, and we are in it together. I've known it from the start. You are not alone. You are not alone. You might feel lonely and down. You might be thinking things will always be this way. But you got a friend in you. Self-compassion will get you through. You just have to look inside, and you will find that we are in it together. I know it in my heart. You are not alone. You are not, and we are in it together. I've known it from the start. You are not alone. You are not alone. We've got Bunny. You're not alone. Doodles. What can you do? Spots. We can be aware. And Snuggles. I care about you. When life gets hard, we're resilient.